OffBeat Sports Podcast presented by Celsius.
It's been a tale of two seasons for the Boston Celtics.
I probably aged about 10 years just from that series.
I'd probably compare myself to just a younger, smarter, more handsome, stronger Michael Jordan.
Let's go Celtics. Go Patriots.
These are guys who, when you give them a bowl of Cheerios in the morning, they finish every last drop of milk.
Absolute clown over here.
I'm ready when you are, baby.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the OffBeat Sports Podcast presented by... We got a good episode for you today. It's me, Cross, here back with another episode. I got Aiden with me and our boy Casper, or David, is joining us. And we're gonna talk some NBA overrated or underrated. We're gonna go through a list of names and talk if they're overrated, underrated, or perfectly rated. So how's everyone doing? How are we doing, boys?
Doing pretty well, Cross.
We ready? Aiden, you just moved into school. How are we looking at Holy
Going
Cross?
well. You know, we're going along with the flow, getting ready for class, but yeah, it's going well.
Casper and his patented tank top look for the episode. All right. Let's get into it. We're gonna start with a very controversial one. Overrated or underrated Russell Westbrook? What are we thinking?
Under.
Aiden?
Yeah, I gotta go underrated here as well.
Damn. I was gonna go underrated because I thought nobody else was gonna pick it, and I thought I'd be original, but it looks like we're gonna go a clean sweep of underrated. And for me, I think underrated because he has so much hate on him now because saying he was overrated, that now there's so much hate that makes him underrated, because I think he's still a valuable player. I mean, he's only a couple years out from averaging a triple-double. He's still a very good basketball player. Yeah, his shot's probably not where it should be, but like I still think he's a talented basketball player that could have a very good season next year.
Yeah, to go off with that, I know he is definitely getting a lot of hate in the NBA community, but from all different types of fans. But you look at his numbers, he's still averaged 18 a game, close to his triple-double numbers of the past. And he played well enough the prior year with Washington that actually OffBeat, all of us had him in our top 10 point guards list just 1 year ago. So, I mean, players, I feel like they can tend to struggle depending on their play style, if they're ball dominant when playing with LeBron. So I feel like we give them a year to get acclimated, and I would expect a comeback season from Westbrook here, kind of prove people wrong with a year of experience.
He might also be able to contribute it to just like, I mean, your team's struggling, the whole team's struggling as a whole, and therefore he's going to struggle because it gets to your head. It's aggravating.
Exactly. And he still put up good numbers. He still put up like solid numbers this past season.
I mean, their team sucked.
Yeah,
their roster was not good. For 90% of the season, the second best player on their team was Malik Monk. Because Anthony Davis wasn't playing, LeBron was in and out, and Westbrook was playing. But, like, you can't, like, what do you expect when you put Malik Monk and Austin Reeves around Westbrook? Like, what is that going to do, dude? Like, even his OKC team was better than that. If you take LeBron and AD off that team, his OKC team with Oladipo and Sabonis before they were, like, good, they would kill them. Plus, Westbrook, you mean he averaged 18, 7, and 7 as a not primary ball handler when LeBron was playing, at least. Like, I get it. He had his blunders, but he has his blunders every single year. Like, if you go to his MVP year, there's plenty of highlights that you're like, what are you doing? That's how he is every single year. That doesn't mean he's not going to make up for it at some point.
Well, and I also think he's poised for a most improved player year this year. I mean, after last year and all the hate he got, I mean, if he comes out and has a good season, he may be an option for most improved player, and I think he could do it. Especially, like, I don't know if he'll stay with the Lakers, but like, if he does, I think the Lakers might be okay. I think they'll probably be a playoff team versus like they weren't last year. But I mean, LeBron should be good, AD should be good. I think he's poised for a good year if he has been working on his game like I think he has. And I mean, he's getting the praise from LeBron. I mean, I know he's his teammate, but
LeBron praises people the most before they get traded. Usually, I feel like that's like. I'm not
but
saying
even if he
that's
gets
always
traded,
happened, it's a common theme.
Yeah. All right.
I mean,
well,
Pat Bev is what he needs. Like, I think if Westbrook can like put his ego aside enough to let Pat Bev be like, dude, like you're not MVP anymore. Like that's not the point. You can do this now and still be good. I don't know if he'll want to listen to Pat Bev, but Pat Bev's gonna get under his skin, and Westbrook doesn't like people under his skin. So if Pat Bev can do it successfully, he should be fine. Plus, Pat Bev's a great mentor, even if he's younger than Westbrook, which I think he might be. I don't know if he is, but still.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to some other ones. We'll just give our quick thoughts for these. Kyrie Irving. I think he's honestly underrated, and that may be controversial. But I think I think he's an asshat, but I think because of that, he gets a lot of hate. He's still a fantastic basketball player. Just talking basketball, I think he's a fantastic basketball player that people tend to take him being like stupid and controversial like as like part of his game, and he like his value gets decreased because of that, but I think he's probably underrated.
Yeah, if I had to pick a side,
Or he could be perfectly rated if you think if you
yeah. I mean, I think he's kind of rated where he should be, but if I had to pick underrated or overrated, I'd also go with underrated. So I feel like his off the court antics can kind of distract people from like just how good of a player he is sometimes. But I think for the most part, he's kind of where he should be in the eyes of like reporters, sports writers, fans.
I mean, like, I don't really care what he does off the court. I think Kyrie's insanely good. I think half the people in the world, if they were half as good as Kyrie, like they would be more than happy with everything. Like, at least when I was younger, like I'm not really a Kyrie fan anymore, but like every kid wanted to be like Kyrie because he had handles and his layup package was crazy and he could score. But I think I'd tip towards overrated just because like as good as he is, it doesn't really translate to much if it's just him. Like he can't like I understand he isn't a player that's built to lead a team because he tried and it didn't really work. But I still like if KD's not playing, I don't see Kyrie getting them far enough for them to be successful. Like they just have to be together. Like I don't see like when Harden was there and KD and Kyrie were out, Harden was weathering the storm and he was like keeping the team afloat while they were out. Kyrie, like I don't know if he's good enough individually, but like he needs to be a little more point guard oriented, I think, to get to a more underrated or like a better ranking in my eyes. Like I love Kyrie, and it might be controversial, but like there's probably like there might be 3-4 point guards I would take before him. So
all right. Rudy Gobert. I'm going completely overrated. I think I don't think he's as good as a defender as he's made out to be, and he's terrible on offense.
Yeah, 100% overrated. I'd pick Rob Williams every single time over Gobert if I had to have one of them on my team.
Dave?
His rim protection's unreal, but he's really like he's limited on the perimeter. And I think
I feel like he's good at blocking shots, and that's literally it.
I think offensively he's pretty underrated because if you force feed him the ball in the paint, he's going to score. But I also don't think he's sustainable enough to do that every game, like all game long. Like he's not a Shaq-like player. It won't work like that. He's not a focal point of offense.
All right. Next on my list, I got Ja Morant.
Underrated.
Underrated. I would say
way too underrated.
I don't know. I feel like he gets a lot of hype, so I'd go perfectly rated or even tipping towards the overrated side a little bit. Considering they were very good with him off the court as well. I know, like, I mean, stuff happens, but I would say I'm probably in the perfectly rated range, but I would tip a little bit to the overrated if I were to pick one.
Yeah, I would go overrated here. Just because the Grizzlies did so well without him this season, proving that they could win, like without his services, even though they are better, obviously, with Ja on their team. And I also think that before the season, he would 100% would have been underrated, because some guys didn't even have them or have Ja in their top 10 for point guards. But now I see some people having him higher than Luka, only trailing Steph Curry in some of these rankings. And it's crazy. Ja's a really good player, don't get me wrong, but he's getting a little overhyped right now. which makes sense after the Grizzlies' great season, but I'm not buying it all the way just yet.
All right. Next on my list, I got Jordan Poole. I got overrated for Jordan Poole. I think he's super streaky. He tries too hard to look cool on the court and like to try and show off, and I think that sometimes hurts him. And I don't think he has the discipline defensively and even offensively. I don't think he has the discipline that like guys like Steph and Clay do at it like on his team, and I think that sometimes can hurt him. And sometimes he's just so hot that it doesn't matter and he's hitting everything, but sometimes it makes him look really stupid, and I would say overrated.
Yeah, I'd also go overrated for Jordan Poole. I think that people are almost expecting him to kind of step into Steph Curry's like footsteps when he's done, and I just don't know that he's capable of doing that mentally, staying in the game long enough, because when we saw in the finals, when the Celtics really locked down on him, I mean, save for a few lucky half court shots or the occasional time where he would get hot, he really struggled in that series. So I think that he is being a little overrated right now.
I think he's a little underrated. I think his bag is crazy. He's like the definition of a microwave, which is like, I know a lot of people that are like microwaves, like they can go freezing cold, but as soon as they get hot, it can completely change a game. Like that's how Golden State works. I think the system he's in, I think maybe he could be overrated if you're picturing him on another team, but on Golden State, he just fits perfectly, and he's a spark plug that they need in a championship offense. So I think in that sense, he's pretty underrated. I think he's like a glorified role player that plays his role perfectly.
All right. Next, I got Jaylen Brown, and I definitely say he's underrated. I think I'm starting to think he's starting to get his praise, but I'd still consider him underrated. He really helped us in the playoffs last year, and especially the finals when Tatum was cold. He was really keeping up with it, and I think he's honestly a little slightly below Tatum, and I think he can be just as good. And I think the demand for the Nets to have him in that Kevin Durant trade really proves it. It shows that he has a high value, and I think for him to even be in those talks is just kind of like an honor for him, because I mean the fact that anyone would want to trade him for Kevin Durant is kind of a compliment, and I would definitely say he's underrated.
Yeah, I have him underrated as well. Prior to this season, I had him as probably the most underrated player in the whole league, and I think with the finals run, people are beginning to finally realize just how good Jaylen Brown is, like the national audience in general. But I do still think he is underrated. There are times where he just completely took over the game, was way better than Tatum. And he just doesn't get enough praise for what he does here. And if he was on another team, he'd be putting up the same numbers Tatum's putting up, if not better. So I think he's definitely an underrated player in the NBA.
I like where he's rated. I just like where he's at. I think some people put him too high, some people put him too low. Like I definitely think he's in the conversation with like the Levine, maybe even like the Booker types, but sometimes I also like have him lower than that. I don't know. He's pretty streaky too. I'm a big Jaylen Brown fan. He's definitely a dog. Like he can completely change a game, but there's definitely parts of watching him that I'm still skeptical of. Like when I see him play, like he still needs to figure a lot of things out, but if he puts all the pieces together, he could be really good. Like his shot selection sometimes, his ball handling, like little things like that he should be figuring out now. He's still a little behind on, but he's also like his potential is still crazy, so he can make that work.
All right, next on my list, I got another Celtics player, Robert Williams. Going underrated again with him. I think he's again like Jaylen. He's after last year's playoffs, I think people are starting to realize Robert Williams is the top center in the league. He's blocking shots at a high level. He's getting putbacks and dunks. He's rebounding at a high level. He's very valuable. I think he's starting to get it, but I think he's still a little bit underrated right now.
Yeah, I think he's underrated too. I don't think enough people realize that he wasn't healthy for the entirety of the Celtics postseason. And if we had the healthy Rob we had from about January on when the Celtics were tearing up the league, playoffs could have ended way differently than they did. he plays such a huge role because he gives the Celtics that extra dimension in their offense with the lob, which they just really don't have with anybody else. And that kind of opens everything up because, like, you either got a double rob and you're going to give up a floater or just an easy layup to the ball handler, or you're not going to commit and you're going to give one of the league's best lob threats an easy jam. So I think that not enough people talk about Rob's impact on the court, and that's why he's underrated.
Yeah, I think I would say Rob's probably properly rated too, because he's very raw and he has a lot of potential. He does a lot of really good things, but like he also is offensively, he's still pretty limited. Like if he's an all-star, I don't think it's like he's getting voted in right away. Like I still see him as like a Capella type, not like I definitely don't think he's one of the top like few centers in the league. I think he'll get there, but I don't think he's there yet. Like he reminds me of Clint Capella a lot, just like a lot more athletic, a lot more raw. Because Capella and him do a lot of the same things. Like they're obviously lob threats. Rob's much better from the free throw line, which is amazing when you have a center. But they're also like they also just hustle like crazy. They like fight on the boards and they protect the paint. Like, and that's no disrespect to either of them because Capella's tough too. And I love Rob, but I think like where he is right now is also like pretty good. Plus, like playoffs like can fluctuate your rankings so much.
I think so next on my list is Trae Young, and I'm going overrated. I just think in general he's an overrated player. I think he gets way too much credit. And I think that team should be much better. And I think he's going to take a step back now that DeJounte Murray's on that team, and I think people are going to start to see some of his flaws as he gets older. And I think he's a good player. I just think he gets so much credit for very little success.
Yeah, I think Trae Young is also overrated. Yeah, he really hasn't taken the Hawks anywhere in the years he's been there, except save for that 1 year, which you could just call it luck that they made it as far in the playoffs as they did. But he just gives you nothing on the defensive end of the ball. For all his wonders and deep threes that he does on offense, he's just a complete liability on defense. Now I really can't have him as an underrated player when he's given up that much on that side of the ball. So yeah, I'm gonna have Trae Young as an overrated player.
I got Trae underrated. I mean, I think defensively, I think he needs to work harder defensively. I don't
think he gets enough credit
defensively. No, I think exactly what Aiden just said. Right? I think he's a bad defender and he needs to work on it. But the thing is like defense, like you don't have to be good at it to like work at it. Like if you work your ass off defensively, you'll be a solid. Like Steph Curry did it. Steph Curry like isn't the best defender, but over time, like he is significantly better than he was his rookie year. Like if you're 1-on-1 with Steph, that's not a mismatch anymore. Like you have to actually work for that bucket, even though it looks like it's just some skinny point guard that shoots deep threes and stuff. Like you got to actually earn that. Trae, like you got to get into them and show them that like you're there, even if you know they're gonna score on you. Like you got to put up a fight. Because that'll drag a player down throughout the game. Like if you're getting a switch on Trae and they're attacking you all game, but you're just like bumping them and keeping them physical, those shots that they make throughout the entire game are going to stop. They're going to stop falling mid third quarter to fourth quarter because they're just bumping you and in you the whole time. I also think Trae is unreal offensively. I think his shot selection still isn't great. I think Steph doesn't really have that problem as much anymore, but he definitely did. Even when Steph was MVP, obviously, like, we know he's the best shooter ever, but like, can we agree that he didn't always take good shots?
Yeah, I mean,
it's a different situation. It's a different
Yeah.
situation. Get that, but still, like, if you're looking at it from a basketball standpoint, some of the shots he takes are not good shots. Trae does the same thing. Trae is also, like we said with Jordan Poole, he's a microwave. If he gets going, you gotta let him go. You gotta let him go because like he'll go on a run himself. I also think his playmaking as a whole is just like it's very, very good. I would like to see him improve in the Luka aspect a little more off the ball, like just getting the easy buckets, like backdoor cuts and stuff. Because even if you're a small guard, that's the easiest way to get 4 or 6 points a game. And what did Trae didn't Trae lead the league in scoring and assists last year? Total, not average. Pretty sure
he might have.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he might have. Next on my list, I got.
Though that team wasn't that great last year, they underperformed. Their offense was still very high and they have a lot of good pieces there that they can work with.
Yeah. Next on my list, I got Pascal Siakam. I'm going overrated for Pascal. I just think he has one move in his bag, and I think after the championship year, everyone was like thought he was going to be like a star, and I just think he's so overrated. I don't think he has a bag at all for an NBA basketball player.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to go overrated here too. What really sealed the deal for me was watching the bubble series, the Celtics versus the Raptors, where Jaylen Brown just put the clamps on Siakam. There was nothing he could do if when that spin move wasn't working. He just kind of shut down, had a horrendous series. And to be seeing all these trade rumors last month of that him possibly being a centerpiece in a Raptors KD trade if Scotty Barnes is off the table is I don't know why the Nets would do that, considering Siakam is, pretty easy to shut down as Jaylen Brown showed. You can really restrict his impact on the court. So I'm gonna have him as overrated. I don't think he should have made the All NBA team over Brown last year.
All right. Casper, what do you think?
I was gonna say I think he's underrated, but part of that's because I think he's poised for a big season this year. I think offensively, I think he has a bag because he's in the NBA. Obviously, I get what you mean though. The spin
Dude,
move
all he does is that stupid spin move.
no, but still,
it
like,
works
still
20% of the time.
5. I mean, I think offensively, even outside of just purely trying to score the ball, like he has great vision out of the post, which is very important as a big guy that's going to get double teamed as a focal point of your offense. And I think part of that is like why the Raptors are so good is like everybody on their team can look and pass out of any situation. I think that's part of why Fred VanVleet was an all-star because like, was he an all-star last year? Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He was.
I can't remember what year. I think it was last year. But like Fred VanVleet, if you look at him, you would never in a million years think he's going to be an all-star. I think part of that goes to the coaching. I think a huge part of that is Siakam too, though.
All right. Next on my list, Kemba Walker. I got overrated. I don't think there's much explanation for
that. I think Kemba at this point in his career I'm gonna have him as perfectly rated, if not a little bit underrated. And the reason for that being, people are kind of writing him off already as being like, oh, he shouldn't be in the NBA. Like,
he isn't in the NBA.
Really is good, but he did average double-digit points this past season, and that's still high quality coming off the bench. So, like,
I don't know. I feel like people still see him as like a good point guard, and I just don't think he's fit for today's NBA.
As like a high quality backup, and if you can get your backup point guard start averaging like 11 a game, kind of defer to the stars if they're playing staggered minutes with them. And considering Kemba's on I think he signed like a veteran's minimum contract recently.
I think he's still a free agent, isn't he?
Yeah, he got traded to the Pistons in that deal. But if Peyton Pritchard started averaging 11, 12 off the Celtics bench, that would be very encouraging. So I'm gonna have
like a 2-3 year player versus like a veteran. It's a little bit different. See what you mean though.
Yeah, I'm gonna put Kemba as perfectly rated, if not a little bit on the underrated side, just because I feel like people are kind of not taking what he can do on offense as much as they should be.
All right, I got a couple more. I'm gonna go Jimmy Butler. What do we think? I think he's perfectly rated. I think he gets enough credit.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'd say perfectly rated.
He either gets way too much or not enough. I think like in the middle is a good medium.
I feel like he's one of the players that his credit fluctuates so much throughout the year. Like he'll go for like a little while, like where people are like, oh, he's so overrated. He's not good. Like, and then he'll have like a 40-point playoff game and everybody will be like, Jimmy Butler's a god, So like, I feel like his rating fluctuates so much throughout the year. While like other players don't really do that. I feel like he's just like 1 minute he's awesome and 1 minute he's terrible. So I would say I would go middle.
He does what he needs to win, which is like what you want in a player. Like he's one of the only stars you can say for sure. Like he's gonna do whatever it can to win. I'm pretty sure any NBA player would say they do that, but it just looks different coming from Jimmy because like he'll have a game where he only shoots 3 times, but he also has like 15 assists and he's like all over the floor. You know what I mean? Like it's just I don't know. Eye test wise, it's different. He's a different kind of star.
Next on my list, I got RJ Barrett. I don't know. I'd go underrated because I think he's a great player, and I think he kind of gets shadowed in that draft. So if from that draft, and I think he's developing into a nice young player. But he's on the Knicks, so he doesn't get enough credit.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd have RJ Barrett as being underrated. I think he averaged 20 a game this past year too, and nobody's really talking about it. And I would argue he was the best player on the Knicks this past season with Randall's struggles. So I don't think he gets enough credit for how well he's been playing. So yeah, I'm gonna have him as underrated.
I'm a huge RJ believer. I think this year's a breakout year. I think he was clearly the best player on the team last year. I think part of that is because Julius just had a bad year. But I was a huge RJ hater when he was at Duke. I didn't think he was going to be that great in the league. I think he had way too many things to work on. I didn't think he was going to be that good. To be honest, like the path he's taking now, like he was okay. Like up until now, last year, he kind of broke out a little bit. That's kind of what I expected. I just thought he was very left-hand dominant. He couldn't get to his right. And when he got to his right, he tried to finesse it back to the left. Like it was very clunky. And now he's very confident. His jumper looks great. And he plays with like
Celtics fans know that more than most.
He plays with the Sexton Westbrook energy sometimes. Like if you watch him, it's a much quieter demeanor, but he's got the mean mug all the time. Like I think he's gonna be a stud. I'm a huge believer now because he made me a believer. So
all right. Last one. I'm gonna go LeBron James. I want to hear your thoughts before I give mine.
Okay. I'm gonna go with underrated here because I think LeBron just averaged 30 a game in his age 36 season, and yet there are some news outlets that don't have him as a top 5 player anymore. And I mean, as Celtic fans, we're not exactly the most fond LeBron fans, but you got to respect what he's doing this late into his career, trying to carry a team like the Lakers, which were just god awful last year. So I'm going to have him as slightly underrated, as crazy as it might sound.
All right, hold on. I have a special guest that wants to contribute to this conversation.
Oh my God.
All right, Harry, real quick. We got a special guest. Harry has joined us from the gym. Harry, LeBron James, overrated or underrated?
Overrated. Psych. Nah, so underrated, dude. So underrated.
You think LeBron's underrated?
The fact that he's still not in the GOAT question, the fact that he's still not the determined GOAT after everything he's accomplished in his career, crazy, preposterous.
Are you wearing a Michael Jordan jersey while saying that?
I'm wearing a Scottie Pippen jersey. Nice try.
All right. I thought he was wearing the Michael Jordan jersey trying to say that. All right.
Here's my hot take, gentlemen.
All right, and real quick. Oh, he hopped off. Never mind. There's your special Harry appearance. Jeez. There's your Harry appearance for the night. Well, David, what do you got? Did you give yours?
No.
Harry threw me off so bad.
I don't want to say it, but I do think LeBron's overrated. I
agree.
This is the way I think. I think the top 8 players in the NBA are set in stone. Whatever order you want, I won't argue too much. I think it's Giannis, Curry, Durant, LeBron, Jokic, Embiid, Luka, Kawhi. I think those are the 8, in my opinion. If you have a different opinion, go nuts. I don't care. But I'm convinced those 8 are the best 8.
Harry's back.
Oh, my God.
All right, Harry has joined us again. Harry, real quick, Russell Westbrook, overrated or underrated?
Good talk.
All right, good. All right. Bye, Harry. See ya. All right.
What did I even say? Oh, no. All right. So my opinion is I think LeBron is top 3. I don't think he's the best player in the league anymore. I think he was for like 99% of his career. I don't think he was last year. I don't think he is this year. To be honest, you can hate on me all you want in the comments. I don't think he's number 2. I'm convinced that Giannis and Jokic, in my opinion, are the 2 best players in the league. Argue with a tree, argue with a wall. I don't care. I think LeBron peaks at 3 in the league now. but I also see people that put him, like Aiden said, anything less than top 5 is crazy. That's crazy to me.
So
Like
I
if
put
you put him under Steph and KD, that's fine. If you feel that way, that's fine. But if you have him under like Embiid or Luka or Kawhi, you're dumb. Like you don't.
In my top 10, I have LeBron at 5 under Steph, Giannis, KD, Joel Embiid, and then LeBron.
No.
I think LeBron is overrated because he's supposed to be the best player of all time, and he's supposed to be one of the best players in the league, but he couldn't take his team to the playoffs last year. I know he was out for some games, but there were games he could have played that he didn't play in. And if you're a top 5 player in the league, like if you're a top 3 player in the league, your team should be in the playoffs. There's no excuse. Nikola Jokic was
50 games.
Nikola Jokic was by himself and took his team to the playoffs. I feel like there's no excuse. I know you should have some, but like you have Westbrook, AD played some games. LeBron could have played more games than he played, for sure. He sat out because and I think he should have been. Or if you want to be rated as high as you are, you better be taking your team to the playoffs.
If he plays an extra 10 games and he gets hurt in the playoffs, what good does that even make? It doesn't even make a difference. Like they're gonna lose the first round. If LeBron doesn't play in the first round of the playoffs this year, whatever seed they are, it doesn't matter. They're not gonna win. Westbrook is not winning a round against whoever who were the seeds in the playoffs last year? Who were 7 and 8?
I don't know.
Who are they beating?
My mom was just staring me down.
The Suns, I think. They weren't beating the Suns. Or the Suns.
I know. I just think he should have played more. I think he could have played more games, and he should have been able to take that team to the playoffs. Even playing 50 games, that's a lot of games.
Yeah, and he was an MVP candidate when he was playing.
Yeah,
he was
team
top
still
3.
sucked.
That was consensus.
I don't know. I feel like if you're going to be rated top 3 in the league, and you better be taking your team to the playoffs. That's just
Didn't he lead the league in scoring?
Probably not.
He had his career high scoring wise. I'm pretty sure this year. I don't think he's ever averaged over 30 until this year.
He did not average over 30.
I think he averaged 30 with his first stint with the Cavs once, but I don't think he's averaged 30 until now.
I'm looking it up right now.
Oh, he did average 30 points a game.
Aiden, isn't it crazy that he has Embiid over LeBron, or is it just me?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about
last year,
talking about availability, I don't know that we should be having Embiid over LeBron.
From we're talking about last
year. He averaged
after
30.
I know, I just said
30. 38 and 6.
Dude, after last year, Joel Embiid should have been the MVP, or could have been the MVP. Not should have. He could have been the MVP and was like number 2 in the MVP voting. I don't know how you don't put him over LeBron last year.
Because he just has a significantly better team in every department. He has shooters, he has guards, he has backup big men, and he is, I guess, somewhat questionable, but he doesn't have bad coaching. Well, who was LeBron's starting center when AD wasn't playing? DeAndre Jordan? For a little bit? You don't know, do you?
I don't know anyone.
I don't either. That's the point. I don't know either. Didn't the Sixers have Drummond and Dwight Howard?
Dwight Howard. No, they had Dwight Howard on the Lakers last year. Yeah, they had Dwight Howard. I don't even remember who was on the team last year. I don't know. I can't find it.
The Sixers had Drummond and Paul Reed. They're tough. Those are big boys.
But yeah, all right. Well,
for backups.
That was the last one on my list. I say overrated, but that's what I got. So that's all I got for us. I think that was pretty solid debate. But thanks everyone for listening. This episode is brought to you by Celsius. I'm Cross.
I'm Aiden.
And David.
Thanks for watching and listening. We'll see you next time with another great episode of OffBeat Sports. Check us out on Instagram at @offbeat_sports and on TikTok at offbeat sports. And we'll see you next time.
Sponsor us, Pedialyte.